Sex is one of those topics that nobody truly educates you about, yet somehow everyone expects you to just understand it. You grow up seeing it everywhere, in films, in songs, in conversations, but when it comes to what's actually happening inside your mind and your emotions, there's a strange silence. And that silence slowly turns into questions you don't always say out loud. You start wondering if you're normal, if you feel too much or maybe not enough, why you crave someone so deeply one moment and then feel distant the next, why attraction feels so intense yet so confusing at the same time. The truth is, most of what you believe about sex isn't even truly yours. It's something you absorbed quietly over time, from expectations, from past experiences, from the fear of being judged. And beneath all of that, there's a deeper psychological layer shaping how you feel, how you react, what you desire, and what you hold back from. Because sex isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's psychological. Sometimes it acts like a mirror, reflecting parts of you that you haven't fully understood yet. You might think your desires are simple, that attraction is straightforward, but your mind is constantly working in the background, processing subtle cues, old memories, emotional patterns, turning all of that into feelings you can't always explain. That instant pull you feel towards someone, it isn't random. And that sudden loss of interest, that isn't random either. There's a quiet conflict happening between what you think you want and what your subconscious is actually pulling you toward. And that's where things start to feel complicated. Because a lot of people don't truly want what they believe they want. They chase excitement, but what they're really looking for is validation. They want connection, but at the same time, they're afraid of being vulnerable. They mistake physical attraction for emotional safety, and then they're left wondering why something feels missing, even when everything looks right on the surface. You probably felt this before. Being with someone where everything seems perfect, yet something inside you just doesn't settle. Or feeling drawn towards someone you know isn't right for you, but you can't explain why the pull is so strong. That's not weakness. That's psychology. Attraction often has less to do with logic and more to do with what your mind has learned to associate with comfort, excitement, or even emotional survival. Sometimes, what feels like chemistry is actually familiarity, and familiarity doesn't always come from healthy experiences. If you've ever felt strongly attracted to someone who keeps you guessing, someone unpredictable, someone who gives you attention and then suddenly pulls away, that intensity you feel isn't always love. It's your brain reacting to uncertainty. It's the emotional rush of not knowing. And your mind can easily mistake that feeling for passion. But real connection doesn't always feel like that. And that's where one of the biggest silent struggles begins. Because deep down, people aren't just looking for pleasure. They're looking for reassurance. They want to feel wanted, valued enough. And when that need for validation becomes tied to sex, everything starts to change. It stops being just an experience and starts becoming a measure. A measure of how attractive you are. A measure of your worth. A measure of whether you are enough. And once that happens, every interaction starts to feel heavier. Every reaction feels personal. A small shift in someone's behavior can feel like rejection. A lack of enthusiasm can feel like failure. You start overthinking things you never even noticed before. Was I good enough? Did they enjoy it? Did I do something wrong? And the more you think about it, the more pressure builds. What most people don't realize is that this pressure doesn't just affect how you feel emotionally. It changes how you experience intimacy itself. It pulls you out of the moment. Instead of feeling, you start thinking. Instead of connecting, you start performing. And when you're stuck in your head, you're no longer fully present. That's why sometimes, even when everything seems right physically, something still feels off. Because your mind isn't at ease. There's another layer to this that's even harder to notice, the influence of expectations. Especially the ones you never consciously chose. The silent rules about how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to want, how fast things should move, what everything should look like. For many men, there's this pressure to always be confident, always ready, always in control. And for many women, there's pressure to be desired, but not too much, to be open, but not judged to feel safe but still exciting. And these expectations don't just stay on the surface. They shape your behavior. They create hesitation. They build insecurity. They push you to act in ways that don't always match what you truly feel. That's why some people rush into things. Not because they truly want to, but because they feel like they should. And some people hold back. Not because they don't feel anything, but because they're afraid of what it might mean. And in both cases, the real emotion gets buried. Think about a moment in your life that felt rushed or forced or slightly off. Maybe you ignored that feeling. Maybe you convinced yourself it was normal. But that quiet discomfort, that was your mind trying to tell you something. Because your psychological state shapes everything. Your past experiences, your beliefs, your emotional wounds, they all show up, whether you realize it or not. If someone has experienced rejection, they might constantly look for reassurance. If someone has felt controlled, they might resist closeness. If someone has been hurt, they might struggle to open up fully, even when they want to. And all of this plays out in ways that aren't always obvious. You might see someone pulling away and think they've lost interest. But sometimes, they're just protecting themselves. You might feel someone becoming distant and assume it's something about you. But sometimes, it has nothing to do with you at all. This is why communication becomes so important and, at the same time, so difficult. Because how do you explain something you don't fully understand yourself? How do you put into words feelings that are confusing, that don't have clear definitions? So instead, people stay quiet. They assume. They guess. They react based on fear instead of clarity. And slowly, distance begins to grow. But here's something most people don't expect. That intensity you feel in the beginning, the excitement, the passion, the constant desire, it's not meant to stay the same forever. Your brain adapts. What once felt new becomes familiar. What once felt exciting becomes stable. And when that shift happens, many people panic. They think something is wrong. They feel like the connection is fading. They assume the attraction is disappearing. But in reality, it's just changing. The problem is, we've been taught to expect constant intensity. To believe that if something is real, it should always feel effortless, exciting, perfect. But that's not how human psychology works. Real, long-term connection isn't built on constant highs. It's built on understanding, on effort, on choosing to stay present and engaged, even when the initial spark softens. And this is where many people struggle, because effort doesn't feel as magical as spontaneity. Communication doesn't feel as exciting as mystery. But without these things, connection slowly fades. Not because it wasn't real, but because it wasn't nurtured. You've probably seen this happen. Maybe you've experienced it yourself. Something that started strong, intense, full of energy, and slowly turned into something distant, routine, disconnected. And it leaves you wondering, what changed? But maybe the better question is, what stopped? Because connection doesn't just exist on its own. It needs attention, awareness, intentional effort. And that doesn't mean forcing something that isn't there. It means understanding what's happening beneath the surface. Understanding your patterns, your triggers, your fears. Understanding why you react the way you do. Why certain things affect you more than others. Because once you become aware of that, something begins to shift. You stop taking everything personally. You stop assuming the worst. You stop chasing validation in ways that only drain you. And you start showing up differently. More present. More honest. More grounded. And that changes everything. Because when you understand the psychology behind your experiences, you stop being controlled by them. You start making choices instead of reacting on impulse. You start building connections that feel real, not just intense. So maybe the real question isn't just about understanding sex. Maybe it's about understanding yourself. Why you feel what you feel. Why you want what you want. Why certain patterns keep repeating until you finally notice them. Because once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. And that awareness is where everything begins to change. So now think about this. When you look at your own experiences, your own patterns, What's something about yourself you've noticed that you never really questioned before?